All right, guys, we're taking off to Tacoma. Let's hit the road. My wife is too freaking awesome for lining this all up for me. And while we're away from home, we're going to stop and do a little swapping on some parts too, because, you know, got to do that. All right, let's go. As I was headed down the interstate, I saw the town of Kalama, and they had an antique district listed on their I-5 sign. So I'm a sucker for antique stores, especially if they have car parts, you know, early hot rod stuff. I'm always peeking around, seeing what I can find. This one was interesting. I stopped at a couple. I only shot footage in this one, but you know, stuff was neat, priced relatively fair, but I don't know, wasn't anything that really needed to come home with me that I saw, but it was a cool stop. Kalama, there's a early Ford toolkit wrench. Had some neat stuff in there. But anyway, yeah, I stopped and checked it out and found some cool stuff. If you get a chance, swing on into Kalama Ding Dong and check out the antique district. They have 3 or 4 stores, and they're kind of like antique malls, you know, where there's multiple vendors, I think, in each location. Most of them, they're huge stores. These are kind of neat, early Portland swap meet commemorative vehicles, little die-cast vehicles. Kind of cool. Anyway, enjoy. Now, this is a place that I have seen many times. I've driven by it. I'm always on a time crunch. I never get a chance to swing through there. I've heard from multiple friends of mine that they've stopped and talked to the owner. They said everything's for sale, but he tends to ask kind of, you know, a little beyond the top end of the even retail market. So everything kind of stays there, but it's really cool. And I had to drive by it, get off the highway, and take a little closer look this time. I mean, there's just, if you slow down and look, there's a lot of really cool stuff out there. He's got really neat collection of history. Didn't really want to stop in and intrude on him. I wasn't really, shopping for cars today anyway, so just did a little drive-by. Now I gotta shout out my wife here. This is the Airbnb she lined up for me, and it is absolutely amazing. It is super cool. It's got a sweet Wurlitzer jukebox with 50s tunes all loaded on it. Neat vintage artwork. It's she really went above and beyond planning this for me. I've been telling her for a while. In fact, she actually asked me what I wanted to do for my birthday this year. I said, well, maybe I'll go to the LeMay Museum. And she, in her brilliance, decided that, maybe the LeMay Museum is something that you should go do on your own. And we could do something together for your birthday because museums, car museums, are hard to do with all the kids. And we'll have 5 by my birthday. But yeah, well, this Airbnb, she discovered this and lined it up, and it's right in Tacoma, Washington. I don't know if you guys caught the address outside, but you can definitely uh, rent this place. It's not crazy expensive. I did a little Google searching and tried to find some kind of a 50s diner, and I discovered Shake 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 here in Tacoma. Seemed to have pretty good reviews, had a really cool looking atmosphere from the pictures I saw online, so I decided to swing in and check it out. Uh, Nothing but awesome as far as I'm concerned. It absolutely fit the bill for what I was looking for. Great milkshakes, all kinds of crazy combos. Burger prices weren't expensive, sides weren't expensive. It was really, really on point. It was exactly what I was looking for. I ended up getting the teriyaki burger and got the mocha banana malted. Just hit the spot. It was awesome. So if you get a chance, swing in and check it out. It is all the right vibes. Well, it's LeMay time, guys. Just gonna drink a little tea here. I'm kind of battling off a little bit of a cold. Yeah, I get sick literally the night before. Wonderful. But my amazing wife packed medicine, tea, and I'm kind of slowly getting rolling here this morning. Um, Probably going to skip breakfast. I hear there's a cafe at the LeMay Museum, so we might check that out, see what the menu looks like. Uh, might try to go find another 50s diner, might go back to Shake, Shake, Shake. That was really awesome. So let me get this drink and we'll get rolling on over to the LeMay. They open at 10. It's 9:09 right now, so let's get going. Well, this is the LeMay Auto Museum. It's named after Harold LeMay. A large portion of the collection here was Harold's collection. Now, Harold started in 1942 with a one-man garbage route. He slowly turned that into one of the largest private uh, refuse collection companies in the country. And slowly over time, Harold just grew his collection. Now, today they're showing an evolution of Japanese JDM cars. Uh, some pretty neat stuff here. It's not really my general forte or in the lane of the channel, but it's still cool. There's cool cars here, and we're going to check them out briefly as we make our way towards Harold's cars and some of the neat older stuff that we tend to follow. Um, some of these things are really neat, though. I mean, they had some neat styling. Some of these are from the 60s. They're fast and they're sleek and made for pretty cool cars. I like that samurai suit. Right as we start down this ramp, you can kind of see the older stuff getting started. Here's a 46 Packard limousine. Pretty neat stuff. Really sleek. This section is mainly on coach-built cars. You know, hand-built, one at a time, one-off stuff. And you can pause here at some of these things and read. I tried to include clear imaging of them, but it's definitely going to make for a really long video if I pause long enough for everybody to read every single placard and sign. So feel free to pause the video as we're going and stop and read stuff. But there's some really neat stuff here, though. I mean, look at those molded headlights with the fenders and the lanterns on the side. Crystal lanterns. 1916 Pierce Arrow. Really, really cool cars. And it's neat to think about the history of these things and think about whose families would have purchased these and probably had a driver and just the whole time period. I mean, it's talking like turn of the century and pre-World War I, or this one's pretty cool here. This one belonged to the Rockefellers. It's one of two that they owned. This one was bought for our seniors, John D. Rockefeller Sr.'s 78th birthday, 1917 Crane Simplex. It's a pretty cool car, pretty lavish. A lot of people. I read on another placard that the Rockefellers had a hard top body and a Phaeton type body like this. So in the winter, they'd swap the bodies out, I believe, and be more enclosed. Kind of crazy to think about. But the life of luxury these guys lived is pretty astounding. Pretty neat stuff. Really beautiful lines. Lots of wood. Lots of hand-built pieces. It's really really an interesting era of cars. People really flexing their wealth, trying to compete, keeping up with the Joneses in a big way. And some of these cars, these one-off hand-built cars were 300,000 plus by today's standards. And just very interesting. You could spend all day picking these things apart and looking at every single little detail. 1924 Lincoln. So a really neat car. It's really sleek. I think this is a Rolls Royce. Pretty sure this is a Rolls Royce. Just, yeah. Wild. They're just talking about some celebrities that owned coach-built cars, and there's talking about the Rockefellers. You guys want to pause that and read it? Pretty interesting stuff. I try to keep everything in high enough resolution you guys can actually read it all. Now here we get to a Duesenberg. Now, if this doesn't make you think of the Great Gatsby, what a just regal, sporty, gigantic car. I mean, it boasts everything that you could have to say about having money and style and speed and power. You got to remember the era this was built in. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I think this is a 1930. And it's just every little detail. Yep, Duesenberg Model J, 1930. Every little detail is just unbelievable. Such amazing cars. Such an incredible era of time. Rapidly wiped out by the Great Depression. Now, a lot of the cars on this floor belong to Harold, and I believe his wife's name was Nancy. It's pretty extensive collection, and really neat reading and listening to some of the stories about Harold. Seems like everybody's got a story about Harold. In fact, I even have a friend who owned one of Harold's cars. A Nash, I think, 47 Nash. But yeah, it just seems like two people who were really genuine and kind to people, especially kids. I read on one of the placards that by the final Christmas party that Harold attended, there were 1,500 people in attendance, including 300 kids and even some grandkids and great-grandkids of previous employees. He really treated his staff, from what people were saying, he really treated his staff and his employees very well, like family. And sounds like he's really, one of those American dream stories, a guy that really just carved out his own spot in the world and happened to have a passion for cars. You can stop and read that placard there. That's a pretty good one. But yeah, he started out with a tow truck business, and then he moved to refuse collection. And then by the time he was done, he owned 7 or 8 businesses. And yeah, he's just a car collector. A lot of the stories seem like they're from guys who just meet him at swap meets, and from the way everybody tells it, he's a very unassuming guy, a guy that walked around in coveralls. You'd never know, who you were dealing with, because he just looked like anybody else. And probably that's the way he liked it. will say I'm not normally a huge T-Bird fan, but this one was really striking in person. It was a good looking car. And if they're done right, then they're, yeah, look at that. You're making money, you're doing it wrong. I don't know. I've made money on quite a few cars. I guess doing full restorations, Jay Leno style, is not something I've ever done, though. I don't, not many people have. That guy's meticulous. The Porsches were neat. They were fun to check out. That blue one in the beginning was kind of like the one that my dad had way back in the day, I think when he was in college. There's a neat little row here of Indian bikes. And, well, on this floor, they have a couple little deals. And this little attraction is shut down here. It's now behind me, but you could take pictures in the car with old hats on and stuff, I guess, old ladies' hats. Some neat cars. There's a 54 Lincoln back there. So I think a 55 Olds, Studebakers. Um, Here's some international harvesters. Let you guys read that. Kind of neat. Interesting to think about the fact that they made cars. You know, a lot of people just think of them as tractors, but they did make cars too. Not real pretty ones. Kind of utilitarian, go figure. This car is really neat. Now, this car is thought to be only one of the surviving of the 123, sorry, of the 123 that were originally made. So this could be one of the only ones or the only one. Kind of crazy to think about. There's a lot of neat Mopar history, although guys don't call it Mopar. Now, I'm going to selfishly take a little bit of time on this car. I have a 33 Dodge rumble seat coupe, 5-window coupe. Mine had dual spare tires on the fender wells, just like this one. My car was actually really, really close to exactly like this one. And I actually got permission to step behind the ropes with one of the curators and get some additional pictures of this car to aid me when I get around to rebuilding mine. Here's an image of what mine looks like. It's a little worse for wear right now. But yeah, very cool car. It was really nice of them to allow me to get in and take some pictures. And I don't, they don't do that for everybody. So I really do appreciate that. It's going to help me quite a bit because there are not a lot of detailed pictures of some of these things on the internet. And this is very helpful. So I appreciate that. There's a neat little 46 Ford coupe. But I'll let you guys get back to enjoying. I'll put a little music back on for you. This one's pretty cool. Little hot rod. Not a whole lot of hot rods in here, so it was neat to see one. There's a couple, but yeah, it was neat to see that little T-bucket. Now, in this area, they have the racing simulators back there. They were shut down right now, but actually, I went around and did the whole tour again by myself, and I got to try out the racing simulators. It was a lot of fun. I think it cost something like $15 to do it, and yeah, I did the advanced one where you use the paddle shifters and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. You know, it's really simulates you throwing you into the corners and stuff. This little wagon's neat. It has a Ferrari motor, I believe. Um, but yeah, some neat attractions, some neat little bonus things to do, fun stuff with the kids. Here's some slot car racing. Um, you know, they really try to make it fun for everybody, and that was shut down right now. They didn't have it going on, but they try to keep it all real interactive. You could spend a couple days trying to soak up everything that's at the LeMay Auto Museum. Now, there's an interesting story I read upstairs about this car, this little baby Grand, and that is that when Harold LeMay was going to pick up a dump truck, he actually rolled that into one trip, and he loaded that baby Grand into the back of the dump truck to haul it home under a sheet of plexiglass, which is kind of interesting. This car is kind of cool because this car we have sitting at home. Well, the body's over at mom and dad's, but it's sitting at home in the shop. There it is. From the cowl to the B pillar is same as this car, 22 to 25 Dodge. This one's really neat too. It's another little attraction. Kids can get in it, or fat guys can squeeze into it. As you'll see here, this car needs a fat man steering wheel because my rotund figure rubs on the wheel. It's a good thing when you're building your own car, you can set the seat back a little bit further and give yourself a little more room. It's a really neat little car, though. They have it all rigged up so you can turn the key, you can turn on the lights, you can rev the engine. Ooh, hey. But neat stuff for the kids. Really neat. This one's cool. I can remember when this movie came out with John Goodman playing Fred Flintstone, and it was a pretty neat little movie. Kind of silly, but fun for a kid. Now we're getting down to the base level here. That's the maintenance department down there at the end. There's a 31 Model A Roadster. I learned the difference between the shells while on this trip, and the fact that that painted insert means that's a late 31 and not a 30 and not a 28 and not a 29. I went around and actually compared them all and got a real good idea of how that all works, because it's a little confusing if you don't already know. But they were actually in the process when I got down here of checking in a new car, and that's that the Porsche that you're about to see in a second. And the employee who went and helped me with taking a look, behind the rope of the 33 Dodge, he was going to introduce me to the fellow that runs this joint, but he had his hands tied there working on bringing that new car in. And I went out later and saw that they had pulled that car right around to the front, probably for photo op, which is what I capitalized on as well myself. Take a little shot of while I was going through the museum the second time. They got those cars all cleaned up. They were shining real bright when I went back down the second time. So I'm working my way back out now. There's some race cars. There's a Aston Martin up ahead. There's some pretty neat stuff. One thing I want to tell you guys, though, is the cafe, which is above the main floor. It's raised up there. Neat. Oh, a little sidebar about that car. That car was found completely in disarray, missing the motor and tranny, and they ended up swapping a V8 into that Aston Martin back there. But anyway, cafe, up one flight of stairs from the main floor. The food is really good and it's really cheap. For $15, I got a club sandwich that I couldn't even fit in my mouth. It took me an hour to eat it. And I got a root beer float and I got a bag of chips. Really good though. And you get to sit up there and kind of look over the main exhibit floor as you eat. So definitely worth checking out if you're there. If you're doing like I did and I spent 7.5 hours there on this day, you're going to have to eat. Might as well do it up there. And it's really good, tasty food, really great service. Also, make sure you stick around for the end of the video because I promised you guys some part swapping. So I'm going to sneak some of that in at the very end. All right. Thank you. Thanks. You're welcome. Appreciate it. Well, guys, this is going to wrap it up for me. I'm going to go walk the museum again without a camera and take my time a little bit and enjoy it. But I appreciate you guys watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later. Well, guys, for my return trip home, I got stuck behind about 8, maybe 9 car accidents, and the 4.5 hour trip ended up taking almost 7 hours. So, and my schedule got a little screwed up. So my buddy that I was swapping parts with, he was busy when I got there, so I just started kind of loading by myself and didn't really have time to spend a bunch of time filming and talking and stuff as I was hoping I would be able to. But I was picking up a 32 pickup Cal, you can see, that I had purchased a while back through this friend, and he picked up for me and he's been holding for me. And then I swapped him for a few other parts too. I gave him some stock Model A motor mounts and rear bumper mount, a couple things like that. And in return, I got these cool conveyor belt legs and brackets, and I got this really neat fire truck siren with a light built in that I'll be listing for sale. They fetch a pretty good price, but I want to play with it a little bit first because, of course, I'm a giant kid. But anyway, that's going to wrap up for this trip. I appreciate you guys watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Later.